Welcome to the first Quiz and Quill podcast.
My name is Whitney Burton, and I'm one of the co-managing editors of Quiz and Quill.
And my name is Lucy Clark, and I am the other co-managing editor of Quiz and Quill.
And tonight we have a lot of fun things. So we have, content-wise, a couple of poems, a short story told through a series of vignettes, and then a radio play. And then in between those, we'll have some interviews with some of the writers, and also some personal horror stories from Quiz and Quill's own staff.
A lot of work has gone into these from staff, both in reviewing things that were submitted and creating original content, and we are so excited to debut this.
So without further ado, here is the first few sections of What's in the Punch by Quiz and Quill staff.
It was a chilled October night. The leaves were scattered across campus. It was a Saturday night. All the students were wandering around in packs looking for an open party that was still going. Out of all the ones on campus, Alpha Beta Sigma was the one that everyone was at. Since it was near Halloween, everyone was dressed up in the costumes that they had been planning for weeks. Lazy business majors were dressed up as the cast of The Wolf of Wall Street. There were several iterations of the Scooby Gang, and every costume you see at every party you've ever been to were present at the function. Alpha Beta Sigma had been notorious for the drinks they offered at their party, and tonight was no different. They had decided to go with absinthe as the main part of the juice, and the hallucinations that were to follow would change the trajectory of the lives that attended the party that night.
The Joker. When I got to the party, I was expecting somewhat of a grand entrance. I was the coolest guy on campus. I was the top player in my rec sports soccer league. Despite my grades, I knew I was going to be the most successful student from my university. One of the first alumni that would show up when you Google my school. Everything always went my way. This Halloween, I decided to show up as the Joker. Watching that movie for my first film class, the only one I've ever taken, blessed me with an epiphany. I was truly just like him. I saw how society laughed at him for laughing at the absurdity of the world. Life has always been so easy for me, just like him. So, I dyed my hair green, went to Halloween City and bought the costume, and I practiced for weeks in my room to get the laugh just right. When I got to the party an hour before it was supposed to begin, the people in the frat just kind of looked at me. But since my costume was so grand, I don't think they realized I wasn't one of them. I started my festivities with the juice that they had just made. One sip of that, and I was feeling extra frivolous. I felt the Joker in my blood. I was one with him. I started to despise the rich, even my parents who owned beach property. As the other guests started to arrive, I noticed the privilege that surrounded their smug aura. They thought they were so hot in their pricey costumes that they got at some store that overpriced fabric for the upper class. Why so serious? I said to each person I walked through the door. All I got in response were stares that you would expect from the masses. No one would ever appreciate the chaos that the world truly was. I, alone, was on a mission to decivilize this party that was so caught up in appearances. We should put all our money in the middle of the room and set it on fire, I said to some poor sap too drunk to stand straight. Yeah, sure, man. Whatever you say. This party is wild. I took this as enough confirmation to begin the fire myself. I took my $50 I had on me and lit it with a lighter I was going to smoke my American spirit with later. Almost immediately, the fire was extinguished by the foot of the bourgeoisie, foiling my plan to set the world on fire. I decided that I would spend the rest of the night fighting the good fight and trying to show the hypocrisy of society to all the people who decided to spend the night getting drunk instead of focusing on the cruelty of the world.
All right, we're here with our first personal horror story from Quiz and Co staff. We decided to start with none other than Lucy Clark. And so I've heard that you have a bit of a story with a cult.
Yeah, I used to work for one, unknowingly. So I worked for this restaurant that I will not name, but there was a chain of them. And when I quit, I realized that it was actually ran by a cult.
What were some of the things that kind of like clued you into this restaurant chain being a part of a cult?
Well, one of the main things was it was a vegan restaurant. And when I started working there, they had these like very gory videos that would always play. And I asked them to turn them off, and they did. And I later had a customer tell me they were glad that we got rid of the religious imagery. And I wasn't too sure what that meant. There's also pictures of this lady everywhere that I thought just must have been related to the family. Later found out she was the cult leader. And whenever I got there early to prep, my manager would just play these like sermons.
Were any of the coworkers that you worked with kind of like knowing about this? Do you think some of them were like in the cult?
Yeah, so they all knew about it except for me. That was definitely a shock when I left. They like thought it was obvious and I had no clue. But it was a family-owned restaurant, so the whole family was involved with the cult. And one of the family members kind of like ran away at one point without telling anyone. So that kind of like clicked into place afterwards. One of my coworkers' parents actually also used to be involved in the cult, and they were kicked out. So
what were some of the like most culty things that you kind of like experienced while working there?
Okay, so this first one, very long story short, but I was kind of in this like on and off, I guess, like situationship with the son of the family. And one time I asked him if he was a supervillain, what his supervillain power would be. And he said, I can't exactly explain why, but I would be a cult leader. And then that was like the week before he ran away. So I think those pieces kind of connected. Then another time I came in to open and I found the manager sleeping in a closet with like meditation music just like blaring. And that kind of was like never addressed again. But, you know, something that I don't know if this is involving the cult or not, but we didn't get tips, but we did have to like fight for our tips. So like sometimes that would just be like rock, paper, scissors. But one time like our manager made someone wrestle her for tips. So I don't know if that was like a cult thing, but I definitely think that should have like been a red flag.
Who won?
The coworker.
Oh,
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad someone got the money.
A good $10.
Was the application process for the job anything unusual versus jobs you might have otherly applied for?
Definitely. I went in. They would be closed for a lot of the year, kind of just like unexplained. I guess I know why. And when I applied, they had just reopened, and my manager at the time, she said, hey, for your interview, can you just work a shift? And by that, I had no training. She just kind of like left me to my own devices at the register alone. And that was my interview. So
how would you say you were treated at this job versus like some of the other jobs you've had?
I feel like it's always a red flag when a place says like, oh, we're a family here. But they definitely took that to the extreme where like I would be verbally berated like family.
The wrong kind of family.
Yeah, no, a cult family. But it very much was like just kind of this like shared space of yeah.
Well, thank you for your story. Again, this was our first of many personal horror stories that Quiz and Quill staff has experienced throughout their lives. Up next, we have The Creature at the Midsummer Bonfire by Thea Hartley. And stick around for some more personal horror stories and our other content in the Quiz and Quill Halloween podcast.
I'm standing just outside the fire, embers landing just before my feet. Under where the trees meet the wire, nobody will ever see me. I'm here not because I'm hungry for the thing called love these people need. I was not invited to this party, but my faded heart still aches for me to feed. On the edge of darkness, I will linger until something begins to interest me, like the subtle pricking of a finger or a lone wolf drunk and stumbling in the street. I watch him walk onto the back porch, hand carelessly pushing on the screen, the lighted cigarette a blinding torch, and in his pocket something seems to gleam. Time did not begin to move so slowly as in the movies they will make it seem. Frogs will stop their croaking for nobody. Nature stays indifferent to these things. With anticipation, the air was prickling, and no time was wasted on deceit. As he moved, and with a flash the knife was bloodied, a manifested rage put on repeat. Though the scent, I will admit, was weakening, this is not the way to satisfy my need. I know from my most distant memories I cannot gain from dead veins any relief. I am one less shadow made by fire, voiceless and silent as my heartbeat. I will find some other way to curb my hunger, and in that contemplation, I will leave.
That was The Creature at the Midsummer Bonfire by Thea Hartley, and I am currently joined by Thea to ask a bit about your experience with the poem and writing it and hearing it produced. So I guess, first of all, what was your inspiration behind this poem? Was it kind of like a nightmare, a real fear, a real scenario?
This was mostly actually inspired by things that I generally tend to like about the horror genre in general. Lately I've been really into that kind of weird, but at the same time, relevant connection between like creepy things and comfortable things, a creepy, comfy feel. So I kind of went with a more summery, warm tone to contrast the cold actions that happen throughout the poem. It is a vampire poem, and those are one of my favorite creatures. So just really combining things that I'm already interested in to kind of get into an interesting vibe.
Do you write a lot within the horror genre? Do you write a lot of like poetry horror?
Actually, no, this was one of like the first horror-ish poems that I've written, but I've been really enjoying it so far. I have also written a few pieces of short fiction. I am planning on getting more into the genre though. I enjoy it a lot.
Do you feel like poetry gave a different aspect to writing horror or to experiencing horror in a certain way? Do you feel like you were restrained or had any more freedoms?
Well, I'm usually very comfortable with poetry as a genre. I find it very like relaxing and focusing to write poetry usually, but it was interesting in a horror sense specifically to work with the pacing. Because normally when I write poetry, you know, it's very rhythmic normally, and no matter what genre I'm working in. But with horror, I still had to come across with a certain feeling, and it was a little bit challenging to work with both of those concepts at once, but I ended up really liking it.
Was there anything else that motivated it, or was it really just kind of like that imagery you had of that like kind of warmth and vampiric, I guess, energy?
Yeah, I think I wanted to play with that and see where it went, and I was really happy with how it turned out.
How did it feel to perform your work? Did it like add anything or challenge you or inspire you as a writer or change your perspective on anything?
Well, I've read a couple poems aloud before at like open mic nights and things like that, but I've never been in a recording studio before, so that was a new experience for me. It was a little weird just because I felt more like I had to get it perfect. Mm-hmm. You know, I wasn't just talking to people, I was doing a recording. It's a little bit more serious in my brain at the moment, so I'm not sure if it was challenging, but it was just different. It was weird to get used to that feeling.
And kind of hearing it out loud, saying it out loud, having it kind of performed or produced in this way, does it change your perspective on writing poetry? I know poetry is like regarded as largely like an audio type of, a more audio centric type of form. Does it help kind of like cement that, or does it, add anything, change any concepts?
I think every time I read a poem out loud, because it's not really something that I do often, I think every time that I do get a chance to do that with my work, I kind of learn from that experience a bit, because I'm a relatively quiet person. So when I do get a chance to read something aloud, I kind of take bits and pieces from that experience, and I always try and remember them and apply them to the next time I have to do something like that, so that I can make my voice stronger.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We really enjoyed hearing your poem.
Thank you.
All right. And then next we have a couple more sections from What's in the Punch.
The unknown. Well, this blows, I vent to John while we get punch. I come to this dumb costume party I didn't even want to go to, but when I try to participate, I'm the weird one because people don't get it. John dragged me to this Halloween party in hopes to impress a crush. John's crush told everyone that she was dressing up as Red Riding Hood, so he decided to dress as the Big Bad Wolf to, quote, accidentally create a couple's costume situation. Do you think she's here yet? John says while looking around for his crush. Not sure if it's because of the costume or John's creepy obsession with this girl, but it seems like he's sniffing around for her the same way a dog looks for a bone. And this punch is really gross. Disregarding John's weird behavior, I take another swig of the vile liquid. Like, John, look at me. You get it, right? I'm supposed to be. Before I can finish my sentence, John begins to howl once he catches the smell of his crush entering the room. John! I watch him run towards Red Riding Hood on all fours. From watching John, I begin to notice it's not just him acting strange. Tyler said he's supposed to be a ghost, but he just keeps walking into the wall repeatedly. And all the people dressed as zombies are starting to bite people. Suddenly, I hear a blood-curdling scream. John! I run towards the sound coming from the bathroom, only to find John's teeth sunken into Little Red's arm. Before I can get to him and tell him to stop, I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Finally, someone gets it. I could see myself in what I dressed up as. The slimy gray tentacles, my sharp yellow fangs, the countless beating red eyes stretched across my body. I'm beautiful.
The Mermaid. I just wanted to wear something to make myself look good on Halloween. Mermaids are cute, right? Hot or not, I didn't think I should feel like this. My skin felt so dry and itchy, like I had scratchy scales that were unable to be relieved. I thought to myself, I need water, like right now. While I searched the party for a drink, I couldn't help but scratch at my skin. I scratched everywhere with all my might, but it wouldn't stop itching. Everyone kept staring at me as I walked by. What the hell is happening to me? I mumbled under my breath. Someone held a cup out to me as I passed by. I didn't want any more of that punch, I just needed water. When I couldn't stand it anymore, I scrambled to the bathroom and closed the door behind me. I turned the faucet on and bent my neck to reach the running water. Before it even touched my lips, I missed my mouth and it got all over my chin. I felt my legs begin to give out. My long skirt tightened against my lower body, making it a real tail. I couldn't move my legs and my top solidified against my chest. I fell to the floor and felt it shake upon my impact. But I couldn't tear my eyes away from my legs. I began to shake uncontrollably and wondered what I was supposed to do from there. I didn't even know where my phone was, and my friends had all gone to the party with their dates, so I was the last thing on their mind. My stomach turned, and I rolled myself over to the toilet just in time. After I flushed, I saw a fish floating in the water. When we made eye contact, it opened its mouth to talk to me. I heard a loud banging on the door, making me lose my focus on the fish, and when I looked back, it had disappeared. Are you almost done in there? I crawled over to the door, and I continued to crawl as I made my way back down the hallway. I could hear voices talking and laughing, but they sounded like background noise in my brain. All I had to do was make it to the door and get the hell out of this party. No one could know I was a real mermaid. Who knows what they would do if they realized what I'd become? I passed a man in a suit trying to impress a girl with words I couldn't comprehend, and I heard my friend calling my name. I turned my head in her direction. Don't tell them. It's too dangerous. I'm going to the ocean. It's going to be better for everyone if I disappear. Are you crazy? What's going on? Just stand up. I heard her in the back of my mind, but I couldn't listen. I made it to the door and flung my body outside into the cold, damp air. And I laid in the dewy grass until my body was numb from the bitterness of the October night.
All right, we are back again with another personal story from none other than Quiz and Quill's own faculty advisor, Jeremy Llorence.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you? I heard you have a story about vandalism.
Yeah, as far as horror stories go. So when I was in 8th grade, I terrified a classmate through vandalism. She had a friend who had a crush on who was leaving, going to Germany, and thought it would be funny to prank my house before she left, like she TP'd it. And I'm like, well, you're in Germany now, so like I can't do anything about this, so I'll get one of your co-conspirators instead. So I got my buddy, and my buddy he was like sort of the social outcast. He was very antisocial, skipped school a lot, which at the time we used to make fun of him for. I think it was actually due to some like really due to like social anxiety.
Yeah.
But so I get him involved, and he's like, okay, well, we have to send the message that this is war. I'm like, all right, cool, man. How do we do it? And he's like, well, my dad and we can build these gallows. And that should have been a red flag, right? Like,
yeah.
Like I should not have liked what I was hearing, but I was in 8th grade, and I was like, perfect, let's do it. And we got some stuffed animals. And I always had like a steady stash of fireworks when I was a kid. So we blew some stuffed animals up with fireworks so they looked like battle damaged. We hung one of them from the gallows, which was like, they were like miniature gallows, but still,
yeah,
you could tell what they were. And on it, we wrote in red paint, Kings of Chaos. And we were like, they'll know it was us, right? Like, oh yeah, fine. And my friend's mom like helped us do this. Like, we weren't even old enough to drive yet, so she had to like help us. My mom was so mad at her for it. The next morning, the family finds it, and it's like her little brother. I don't remember how old he was at the time, but he's like, oh my God, Mom! And they called the cops, and the cops investigated the scene, and they treated it like they had been attacked by struck by cultists, or like some seedy underbelly of something, because they did like a really thorough literary analysis of the scene. They're like, oh my gosh, they hung our dog, and this one represents this kid, and this one represents this kid, and this one represents the mom. And I think at one point she's like, wait a minute. There was something about, I think we left our initials on the gallows. And so she sends me a message on AOL Instant Messenger. I know, yeah, that's how long ago this was. Saying, hey, did you have something to do with, and of course I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, my family's really freaked out. The police are here. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I gotta come clean. So, yeah, they were sufficiently terrified, and that's my story.
That's quite the morbid imagination that you all had as kids. Where did Kings of Chaos come from?
No idea. It was just, we needed a name. Couldn't tell you.
So you've been out creative since a very young age.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Back when I was in 8th grade, just penning brilliant works of literature and then getting in trouble for them.
Do you have contact with any of these people still?
None of them, no. Like Facebook friends. Like,
yeah.
as far as I can tell, they're all living perfectly fine lives. But I haven't.
It didn't scar anyone for that.
If it did, I don't know about it. So, and I would hope that I never learn.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that truly wonderful story.
Sure.
Can't wait for class next Tuesday. Up next, we have the poem "It's in the Corner Again" by Allison Steele.
Can you see it over there? In the corner, waiting for you. Tell me what you feel. Does its gaze make you freeze? Do your knees shake and shiver? Just keep smiling. If you were to look, it would be smiling. So content, sitting there. So amused watching you shiver. So excited to consume you. Your body has been thrown in a pool to freeze. Your body is being conditioned to never again feel. How does that make you feel? Shouldn't you be smiling? Don't you know it's better to freeze and give your life there before people know you can think and speak and shiver? Only weak people shiver. And it knows how you feel. And it knows the heart of you. And it knows you shouldn't be smiling. You desperate, disgusting thing there. So freeze. Freeze. Shiver. Cower there. Be afraid of what you feel. It will still be smiling. So eager to have a taste of you. Poor you. Another sacrifice for the winter freeze. Oh, the creatures are smiling with delight. The trees shiver. Tell me what you feel. Are you still there? We are smiling again, thanks to you. We are happy there will be another freeze. We are free to shiver, free to feel.
All right, and that was It's in the Corner Again by Allison Steele, and I am yet again joined by the poet. Hi, Allison.
Hello, Lucy.
So what was your inspiration behind this poem?
Part of it came from thinking about anxiety and how it feels to be anxious. And then it just kind of grew on its own because I knew I wanted it to be a sestina, which you can't see when it's read aloud. But I feel like with sestinas, the way you have to write them and the way they're organized lets them really go to strange places.
Can you explain a little bit about what a sestina is for those who don't know?
Yeah, so a sestina is a kind of poem that consists of 6 stanzas. There's 6 lines in each stanza. You replace the ending word of each line with a different one. It has a pattern it follows. It's kind of hard to explain just in conversation, but I highly recommend you look up a sestina and try one. They're lots of fun.
So what made you want to make it a sestina specifically?
I think having a format that you have to stick to often leads to creative ways to make something. Despite how it may seem to have limitations, you can often work with them to make something cool.
Definitely. So I know that poetry can be something that is often it's important to hear it read aloud, but with something that's very formatically, visually important, did it change your perception at all having it read aloud, or did it add anything? Or
it was an interesting thing to hear it read aloud because when I read it aloud, obviously I was looking at the screen and I could see it, but I feel like it still works read aloud, especially with the incredible performance Ben gave. It just brought the poem to a whole new level.
Awesome. And going with that, how does it feel to have your work performed and kind of hear it in that way, hear it in another voice?
It's kind of surreal. Initially, I wanted to read it myself because I thought I knew the work best. But the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to hear someone else read it and interpret it. And I'm really glad I did because I didn't think it could sound so spooky. It definitely makes me want to have my work read more. That's definitely something I'm like, this is mine and I know it best, but someone else could also do it just as good, if not better than me.
All right. Well, thank you, Allison. And up next for you guys, we have the next 2 sections of What's in the Punch.
A modern Gatsby. I watch Rosie from across the room, pleading that she'll catch my eye if she'd just turn away from that legacy student nobody she keeps saying she's dating. I don't see why. He just doesn't care about her the way I do, or for as long. Met her in 9th grade and is still pining long. I mean, it's not like I chose this college to be near her, or lied about my uncle being a member of this fraternity to become a member. No, that's dumb. I'm in it for the wealth, the prestige, the clout that this lifestyle brings. But if only Rosie could see how wealthy, how prestigious, how undeniable my clout-filled life really is. But alas, I look down at my pocket watch, my waistcoat, my horrifyingly shiny shoes. This Roaring 20s Love-Struck Jet costume really looked better on mine. But maybe Rosie will appreciate how cultured I am for choosing a non-Chad costume. Not just some kind of sports jersey or a greaser for 3 years in a row. Sure, they look American, but I'm the all-American, pull up by your bootstraps kind of guy people will remember. People will write biographies about. But oh, how I wish I could have a beautiful woman to share my future high-rent, high-rise apartment with. What good is a penthouse if I'd have to ride the elevator alone? The green Jell-O shots on the table almost seem to glow under the party's strobe lights. I had a few too many tonight, and I'm feeling woozy, nostalgic, romantic, and strangely outgoing. Or maybe it was the punch. I am the life of this party. I'm telling my stories, dancing fast, even calling everyone old sport. Although I usually opt for bro. This newfound confidence makes me want to show off, to Rosie especially. If I can just steal her away from that good-for-nothing guy with his arm around her. I suggest another round of shotgunning natty lights, this crowd's accessible alternative to champagne. But before I raise a toast, the crowd begins to devolve into immature chaos. I vaguely hear shouting that some partygoer has bitten a woman, and her scream takes attention off of me. A wolf has bitten Little Red. A boy dressed as a ninja prattles on about defending honor. A woman flops across the middle of the party, making her way to the front lawn as everyone starts hollering. I make my way to Rosie. Before she can tell me, great party, great costume, or I love you and I always have, I flirtatiously suggest we go for a drive. She looks a bit confused, but not eager to stay with her beer-swinging boyfriend, as he makes a fool of himself in front of all of their friends. To interest her further, I remind her I have a custom Tesla, gloss yellow, is what the dealer called it. And I'd even let her drive. I can put it on self-drive if things get out of hand, but I'm not keen on it. I want Rosie to see me for what I am. Successful, high-flying, carefree. What's wrong with that? Tonight's the night, old sports. I'm sure of it.
The Ninja. It started out as a dream. The ninja warrior who lived in the western states after having been exiled by his clan in Japan. The nomad who wished to return home but couldn't because he had forsaken his honor and now tries his hardest to protect the innocent across the sea as a vigilante. A dream it was. That's all it was. A fantasy I had built fueled by my unhealthy obsession with Japanese history and culture. However, with a sip of that magical red punch, the dream, the fantasy, soon became reality, and my costume became my mantle. The shadows became my ally, my mask became my face, and the plastic props I had once pranced around with like toys were now weapons I would use to bestow justice upon the wicked and protect the innocent. I must regain my honor, I declared to no one, earning quizzical looks from my peers. Honor? Life? Death? It's all an illusion, said a boy dressed as a boo ghost as he repetitively banged into the wall. The Joker, however, exclaimed, Well done then. Go on, have it. And so I did, declaring once more, "You have hurt the innocent. You must pay." The Joker's brain automatically shut down when a plastic kunai was hurled at him, striking him square in the forehead. His perplexion was not that a plastic weapon was thrown at him, but instead, the fact that it was thrown at him with pinpoint accuracy. "Fall, you devil!" I howled again, throwing yet another kunai, striking him in the same spot. It still hadn't affected the Joker, whose expressions grew progressively befuddled as not one, not two, but 4 more were thrown at him. I was practically pulling them out of my ass. Real classic. I have an old friend that could help you with your old ninja shtick. Interested? That earned the Joker a 5th kunai. "Ah, you got me. I have been served your dark justice. You've bested me." "I have silenced this great evil," I told myself. "Now I must go beyond." One of the Wolf of Wall Street business majors gave me a rather incredulous and doubtful look. "There are more innocents that need to be protected. I must go," I proclaimed, sliding across the tables and shattering the glass of the window as I performed a perfect swan dive. "Did he just jump out of the window?" the business major asked.
All right, joining us now is Quiz and Quill's fiction genre editor, Julian Tisdale, who has an interesting story about his experience at a dive bar.
Hello, yes. Thank you for listening. My name is Julian. It's placed in a very spooky place in Ohio called Tiffin, right by Heidelberg. And I learned about it from a couple of theater majors, which are the most insane people on campus. We heard about this dive bar that had karaoke nights, specifically on Wednesday. So of course we all had to go, because who wouldn't want to do karaoke? And upon going to that place, it was very much a literal hole in a wall. You know, it was like, 5 cubic squares apart. I'm an English major and not a math major, so don't gripe with me on that. So you had the bartender on the right, and it was like one of the bartenders you would see in the movie. You know, you'd walk up there and he'd go, "What are you buying?" in that classic literary voice. To your left, you had the bar patrons. My theater friend deemed them the townies. That's the name. So they all had a funny little name and a funny little backstory. So we had Peanut. She was called Peanut because she was like 43, but she was very small. You had Clint. Clint always came to the bar dressed up as a cowboy, apparently. And funny thing about Clint, his karaoke song would be The Sound of Silence, but not the Beatles version. No, not the Beatles.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel. It was the cover by
Disturbed.
Yes. Which is like, I think a point I should specify, because those are very two different vibes. And as this cowboy is singing this song, you just see the sadness in his eyes. So again, my theater major friend, he's telling me the stats of everyone. He theorizes that it might be in tribute to like his long gone wife, which I think is canon. We also had two other patrons there one was a biker guy and another one seemed like a different older college student. So what happens next is we're playing pool, we sing a few songs, and we're just having a good time. We dance a little bit because some people can sing. Those townies, voices of angels. But when the night falls apart is once we get to the song by All American Rejects. It's like, "Have you seen my face up against you?" Like that song gives you hell. Can I say that? And during that song, it's a bar unison. The sleazy bartender singing, the sad cowboy, and even Peanut, we're all dancing, singing the song together because everyone knows the words of that song. We're in the Midwest. But the song is stopped short from a clash from across the room. You're like, "Oh, what is that noise?" It's like a broken bottle. And the biker guy I told you about, I just hear, "I'm gonna kill you." And you look to the other side of the bar, because this is a very small place, mind you. It's the other college student. And I like to call him the viaduct fairy, because how he was dancing around, he had this gnomish elf type of vibe to him. He was chuckling. I swear he was talking in rhymes too. He was like, "You can't get me!" Like does a little dance and runs around this bar, jumping on the tables. And this biker guy has the broken glass in his hand, trying to literally kill this guy. So because we're college students, it's a Wednesday. I have class tomorrow. We dip. But as we're like leaving, of course you hear police sirens going. And yeah, I don't think I'll be going to any dive bars soon.
Okay, so I have to ask, do you know what happened next?
Well, here's the scary part. No. I don't think anyone does. And that's why the viaduct is so scary, It's a hole in a wall. So who knows what happens there? Something could be happening today on this Tuesday night.
Have you ever thought about like going back and never finding out?
Honestly, I'm too scared to. A braver man would.
All right. Thank you to Lauren for that very fascinating and scary tale. And up next, we have Tower's Terror, the radio play written by Quiz and Quill staff.
Wait, guys, I have to go back inside real quick. I can't find my card.
Oh, no, you can't go back in there.
Why not?
Haven't you heard? Towers Hall is haunted. Anyone who goes in there after 9 p.m. never comes back out.
Oh, come on, Terry. That's just a myth. There's no way that's true.
No, it's 100% real. Remember that one kid who was in our class last semester? The quiet one who sat in the back and never spoke.
No.
Well, I do. Her name was Margie, and no one's seen her since she came into Towers back in October. According to her roommate, she'd left her textbook in one of her classes during the day and didn't realize it until later that night when she was about to go to bed. So she went into the building to get it and never returned. Now she's a missing person.
Wow, Terry, that's actually ridiculous. You're really gonna make up some fake student who went missing a few months ago just to scare us and actually expect us to believe it?
I'm not making her up. Margie was very real.
Then how come none of us remember her or have heard anything about this case until just now?
I don't know, but I swear I didn't make it up. Google it.
Whatever. Just wait out here. I'll be right back.
No, Jeremiah, don't.
It's too late, Terry. He's already walking back in. I'm sure he'll be fine. What are you scared of anyways, a ghost?
I'm not sure. Maybe. But I'm not egging you on, guys. This is something that really happened.
Okay, this is taking longer than it should. I'm gonna go in and check on it.
Samantha, no. We need to stay put until Jeremiah comes back.
Towers is a small building, Terry. It shouldn't be taking him this long to retrace his steps. I'll go check on him just to be on the safe side.
Just to be on the safe side, huh? Look who believes me now.
No, I don't believe your stupid story, but I do believe that he could have fallen down the stairs or hit his head or something like that.
Okay, whatever you say. Sharon and I will be here for now.
Samantha? Is that you, Samantha? Oh my God!
Uh-oh. Wonder what that was.
We better go see what that's about.
You're right. I'm getting tired of standing out here anyway. Let's go in.
It sounded close. They couldn't have gone too far, right?
No, probably just down to the mailroom. Not like there's too many other places that would be unlocked at this hour. Come on.
Okay. You don't have to pull me.
Well, I don't want you running off just because you're scared, right? Come on.
God, it's even darker down here at night. The lights aren't even turning on. Jeremiah! Samantha?
There's like 3 doors down here. They can't have gone far. Unless a ghost got them.
Shut up, Terry. That's not funny.
I think it's pretty funny.
What's funny?
Oh my God. You guys were in the bathroom?
Yeah, I thought I might have left my card in here. I was down here getting my mail earlier this afternoon. It's not here, though. It must be in one of the classrooms upstairs.
Wait, hold on. If you guys were in the bathroom, then why were you screaming Samantha's name?
He was just trying to freak you guys out. I told him to shut up because that's not funny when it's this late.
It was a little funny.
Jeremiah, you're the worst. So, there wasn't anything at all?
Doesn't mean this place isn't haunted. I mean, some of the bathrooms on the upper floors, like the one between the 2nd and 3rd floor, it's got runes written in it. Super weird stuff.
Runes?
Yeah, like weird coded messages on the ceiling and mirrors and stuff.
There's a bathroom between the 2nd and the 3rd floor?
Yeah, it's near some offices and stuff. It's pretty weird over there.
Are you sure it's only on that one? Because, I mean, look at this. I saw it when we were trying to find Jeremiah's ID. Is this what you mean?
Yeah, oh, for sure. That's the runes. How did those get there? This place is for sure haunted.
Because of some writing? It's probably just graffiti. I doubt it actually means
anything. Shut up.
Yeah, but I thought you said it was only supposed to be in that one bathroom. Why is it here?
Ooh, maybe it's because this place is haunted.
Come on, some guy probably just defaced the place in between picking up his mail. Don't be silly.
I mean, we're already on our way upstairs to find Jeremiah's ID. We could always go check out the bathroom upstairs while we're going. None of that stuff would be locked, even this late.
You sure? What about, cameras or...
No one's gonna care. Come on, let's go get spooked.
I mean, I still can't find my card, so who knows? Maybe it's upstairs. I did have a class up there earlier.
See, he agrees. Let's go.
I don't know. This whole place is giving off negative energy tonight.
Tam, you say that everywhere we go. If you're gonna be chicken about it, just go home.
No, it's fine. I'll go. Just, you all go first.
Whatever. Come on, let's go.
Hello? Screw you guys. Seriously, Terry? This really isn't funny. Knock it off. Ha ha ha, you got me. Seriously? Stop it. Jeremiah? Sharon?
Who's Sharon? Okay, so we're headed to the bathroom?
That's where the runes should be.
Maeve left my card there, too.
Fine, just make it quick.
Okay, I'm gonna go check for my ID. Holy shit!
What?
I'm just messing with you guys. There's nothing. Just some stupid writing.
What was that?
Probably just Samantha heading out. Here, let me check my phone. Huh. That's weird.
What?
No service.
It's Margie.
Stop it. Seriously. We should go check on Samantha.
Come on. Jeremiah, did you find your card?
No, I had Quiz and Quill upstairs earlier. It's probably up there.
See, let's go meet the ghost. Samantha's fine.
Fine, but I'm done there. I'm not going on a goose chase for the whole evening.
Deal.
What was that?
What?
That laughing. I heard it too.
Well, let's go find out.
Fine, but I'm taking the elevators. The stairs and towers are the work of the devil.
Whatever you want, Sharon. I hate the stairs. They're the worst.
Better than the elevator. I swear to God it's going to kill someone someday.
Not the most positive thing to say when we just let Sharon get on. And here she is now.
Where is she?
She probably called the elevator again. After Samantha chickened out, she just wants to scare us.
Maybe, but I don't want to be here any longer than I have to.
Well, if you didn't lose your card, we wouldn't be here.
Thank you for reminding me. I had no idea. Come on, let's just check the Quiz and Quill room.
Jesus, this hallway is creepy. Why did they put up all these old photos? God, it's like they're looking at me.
It's not there.
Seriously? Dude, are you sure it's in Towers?
It has to be. It's the only place I've been all day.
So where else is it?
Well, I was up in the philo room for a bit.
You're kidding.
Unfortunately, no.
Fantastic.
What the
Jesus
hell?
Christ, not funny, guys. Feel free to come out of wherever you're hiding whenever you get bored.
It sounded like it came from behind this frame.
What? The ghosts of a lum past lingering in towers to kill us? Lame.
I didn't say it was a ghost. I just said where I thought the noise was coming from. Not everything is about spooky, scary skeletons, Terry.
What the fuck?
Come on!
Something grabbed me. What grabbed me?
What was that? An earthquake? Terry? Terry? Oh no. No. Ghosts aren't real. Terry, I don't know how you're doing this, but cut it out. It's not funny. God damn it. Don't fuck with me, I'm serious. Stop! Who's there?
Your doom.
Ugh, Jesus Christ, Sharon. Are you guys serious? I thought you guys were dead or something.
Oh my God, we got you so
You
good.
should have seen the look on your face. Oh my God.
Haha, okay, we get it. You guys got me.
Yeah, we did.
Good job.
High five.
It was seriously you guys? The whole time?
Pretty much.
But the paintings.
That was me.
And the...
Also me.
Man, you guys really went all out for this.
Well, you were the most skeptical. As soon as I brought up the story about the ghost, you immediately shot it down. So we thought it would be funny to scare you.
And it was.
Ugh, you guys are the worst. Let's just get my ID and get out of here.
Oh, here. I found it when I got up to the 3rd floor.
Gee, thanks for all your help. I really appreciate it.
Come on, don't be such a crybaby.
I'm not. Come on, let's go.
All right. Come on, Terry. Let's go before the ghost gets Jeremiah.
Yeah, we wouldn't want him to have a heart attack.
You guys are unbearable. What happened to Mantha, though? Was she in on all this, too?
No. I don't know what she's doing.
I think she actually left. She was pretty freaked out, so she must have just bailed after we came up from the basement.
Well, at least I wasn't the only victim, I guess. You guys better watch your backs. I'm not gonna just let this go. You better watch out.
Yeah, okay. We'll both be looking out for Scaredy Jeremy.
Goodbye. I'll see you soon.
All right, we're back again with Lucy Clark, who has yet another personal horror story for us. And I hear this one is about some apparitions you might have seen.
Yeah, so when I was about like 8 or 9 years old, I moved from Columbus to Cincinnati, and we moved into this house that just kind of seemed like perfect, up on a little hill. It was great. But we always had people that would stop by and say like, how do you like the house? Very much like out of a horror movie. So we just kind of went with it. A lot of really weird things happened. Like wine glasses would just fall perfectly onto the floor and not shatter, like just be pulled out of things. Doorknobs would rattle. And none of it I ever really saw, except probably when I was about 9 years old. I was home alone, I think. And I was walking out of my bedroom and I saw this woman with like long dark hair, really pale, and this like beautiful like red 50s ball gown. Just like walk from my bedroom into the bathroom. And I later found out that there was an older lady who used to live there that was like collecting a lot of antiques and or collected a lot of antiques and probably brought something in there. Maybe that was her. But she was very pretty. A little spooky though. It was definitely like out of a horror movie.
So you say that you didn't see all of that happen. Was it like your parents that were like notice these things happen and then decide to tell their 8-year-old child about these things?
Yeah, definitely. My mom would just kind of say like, were you like messing with your doorknob last night? Or like the craziest thing happened last night. The VCR just kept opening by itself. Or like this iron is unplugged. I don't know why it's hot. It's been unplugged for an hour. Just like little things like that. And then, you know, when the wine glasses started like falling out of the cabinets by themselves, that was definitely like, okay, who's messing with us now? Is this you, Lucy? Is this something else?
What kind of people would come by and like ask you all about the house? And was it like the same people or was it just a bunch of different people?
Just a bunch of different people would just like kind of stop and stand outside of the house. And it was definitely like a nosy kind of neighborhood. People like to be in your business. So my mom would go out and talk to them and they would just be like, yeah, you liking the house? Is it good? Is it, you know, everything treating you well?
When you finally moved out of the house, was the ghost the reason you all moved out, or was it much more other reasons?
So actually, a lot of this stuff started to happen when my grandma was hospitalized, and it kind of stopped once she was like in the hospital and admitted, and we ended up actually moving to live with my grandpa after she passed, which things also got spooky there, but that's another story. But yeah, so that is why we moved. So I guess partially that, partially not.
All right, thank you, Lucy, for another wonderfully terrifying horror story. And then up next, we have the last two sections of What's in the Punch.
The Cenobite.
It's not my fault. It was never my fault. He who plays only has himself to blame. Does he not know how the game is played? One who invites me, calls out to me. I must answer them. Margaret, listen to me, please. Has he spoken? Perhaps floss is not as durable as thread, but one must work with what she is given. Just as this bathroom lacks character, as to be expected from frat boys, there is not much to aid my cause. He weeps, but no tears fall from his face. Do you not wish to play with me, boy? The floss is no longer white. His lips struggle to open. Please, Margaret, let me go. I won't tell anyone. Turning towards the showers, I dislodge the shower rod from the wall. But you were so persistent when I got here. You followed me. You begged for my attention, offered me drinks. I reach for him. I reach for him the way a father reaches for a gun. But he lashes out, not at me, but towards the window. And he succeeds. Nothing happens for a moment until I look down, and he is laying next to a young woman dressed as a fish. I wave down to the fishwoman. Sorry, he almost hit you. Happy Halloween. It seemed like the only appropriate thing to say.
Official University Police Report, Campus Fraternity Alpha Beta Sigma, October 30th, 20XX, written by Officer Clint Kinsley. I responded to the Alpha Beta Sigma house after calls about a Halloween party gone awry. In addition to complaints of excessive noise and public intoxication, there were reports of strange, violent behavior, students biting one another, jumping out of windows, destruction of property. I assumed these reports were exaggerations. I was not prepared for what I found. Approaching the scene, I was immediately swarmed by several inebriated youths, each babbling incoherently. Some seemed to want my help. Others attempted to, cast some manner of spell on me. I'd assumed it was all part of some elaborate TikTok trend. I have a daughter, I'm hip, but this was chaos. On my way into the house, I stumbled over a young woman in a sequenced shirt and mermaid tail lying in the grass, staring up at the sky. Next to her was a pile of broken glass and debris, and a short trail of blood leading to a young man in tattered black clothes. He was pretty scratched up, and both of his legs appeared to be broken. Still, he was army crawling away from the house, muttering something about honor and some clan. I radioed for assistance, but the other on-duty officer, Sally MacArthur, was on the scene of an accident involving a yellow Tesla, which had apparently fled the party. Dispatch told me the driver was a real piece of work. They called for an ambulance, but backup was still a ways away. Just then, I heard screams and further pandemonium from inside the house. Inside were 5 young men in business suits yelling about penny stocks. In the corner, another young man was repeatedly running into a wall in an attempt to flee a person with dozens, maybe hundreds, of sewing needles stuck into their face. The needled individual simply stood there, staring. Even after they noticed me, they never blinked. I was sure I had heard a woman scream, so I headed down the hall. The rest of the house had been mostly cleared except for a young man in a Joker costume laughing at a pile of burning legal tender like some sort of New Age hippie communist. I blame Bernie. In the bathroom, there was another young man dancing with his reflection in the mirror. I could not tell what his costume was supposed to be, and he would not speak in English or any other language as far as I could tell. I found the screaming girl hiding in a room on the 2nd floor. She'd been bitten by a wolf, she told me. Then, with a look in her eyes just like my daughter's, she asked if I was her grandmother. Not knowing what else to do, I told her I was, and we waited there together until I heard sirens on the lawn. At this time, I'm unable to explain the behavior I witnessed this evening. My best guess is the punch, which smelled almost flammable, had been spiked. I hear my colleague collected a sample for analysis, and the hospital is running toxicology on all of the admitted partygoers. I just ask to be removed from any further involvement in this case. I've seen violence before, but this Ugh, I can only pray to my creator that when my daughter goes off to college, this will be a distant memory, and all of the culprits involved will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
And that's the show. Thank you so much for listening to our premiere podcast.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Quiz and Quill, Twitter at QuizQuill, and Facebook, which is just Quiz and Quill, to keep up to date with submissions and events.
A special thanks to Professor Eric Jones, Hannah Brown, the WOBN staff, our theater co-collaborators, and the Each department. Have a spooky Halloween!
Quiz and Quill staff. Managing editors Whitney Burton and Lucy Clark. Fiction editor DeLorean Tisdale. Nonfiction editor Parker Youngs. Poetry editor and secretary Margot D'Agostino. Plays and graphic literature editor Harper Wood. Copy editors Allison Steele and Jordan Hamsey. Social media and web editor Jordan Hamsey. Staff members Julia Gillen, Thea Hartley, Finley Lopez, and Dalton Alexander Mosley. Faculty advisor Jeremy Llorence. This podcast was recorded by Hannah Brown, Eric Jones, and Jeremy Llorence, with performance direction by Ben Hoover and performances from Kandy Boakye, Nate Dirkeson, Julian Friedman, Ava Reid Gregory, Thea Hartley, Ben Hoover, Ian Peloza, and Quincy Shaindlin. For complete credits, including music, please visit our website, quizandquill.com.